Welcome everyone to the final pre-conference talk of InCTFCon. Today we have Aniket Amdekar with us, a General Manager Cyber Defense Education at Great Learning. Great Learning is the gold sponsor for this event. We want to thank the sponsors without whom this event would not have been possible. Our event sponsors, Salesforce, our diamond sponsors, Zoho and VMware, our platinum sponsor, CrowdStrike, our gold sponsor, our gold sponsor, Cred, Secfence, Schneider Electric, Great Learning, and Buckrout. And finally, our silver sponsors, H&R Block. Aniket Ambedkar is a cybersecurity expert responsible for providing cybersecurity and risk management solutions that provide guidance for the technologies to address challenges across security, risk management, and fraud prevention in the digital area. With more than 14 years of experience in the field of security, he has helped to secure the networks of many corporations. He has worked with companies like Microsoft, Akamai, and Sysantec, and he has also been an avid speaker in multiple security conferences. I would like to hand it over to Mr. Aniket to continue this session.
Thank you very much. And good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. Now, I did give a previous talk on espionage. And at that time, I have met some of you. So if you were there in my previous talk, can you give me a me in the chat window? Just say me in the chat, just to confirm you were there. So I would know that we are continuing our discussion from the last time when we had met. Now, in this entire session that we have planned today, we are about to enter 2022. And in this new year, there are a lot of new trends, new technologies, buzzwords, attacks that are waiting for us. So in today's session, we will be focusing on some of these trends. We will also be looking at a quick recap of a few things that have already happened in the year 2021. But while we get into that, I wanted to get started with a story. Well, it was 30th of December 2020, and as I was in a conference call, we were discussing about the recent alerts that we have received in our monitoring system, and we were going through the SIEM alerts, trying to understand what could have caused this spike of activity. So while we were investigating, we came to know that there was an internal machine, and that machine actually had a virus on it. And as a result, that machine was trying to communicate with many machines on the internal network, causing a lot of bad logons on all these machines. So the SIEM solution was able to flag this as an activity, and we were able to isolate that host, do a quick forensic check, and then re-image the machine after identifying the malware threat. So while we were doing all this, we came to know that there is a new attack that has just come to light. And this attack was called as SolarWinds. Have you guys heard about SolarWinds? Have you guys heard about SolarWinds as an attack? It was quite popular in the very beginning of 2020, or I would say 2021. I think someone was just trying to answer something. Okay, all right. So basically, SolarWinds is like, it's a management tool. What this management tool does is it gives you access to all the machines in the network just from one single console. It's like your own personal VMware manager. If you have been managing a VMware instance on your own, then what you would see is if you have like 5 virtual machines, all the 5 virtual machines will be on the left-hand side. Just click on one and you're in that system. So now this is the ease of access that you have through a virtual machines manager. Now imagine if there is an attacker. That attacker was able to compromise the server. From the server, the attacker was able to penetrate the network. Now, once the network is penetrated, the attacker wants to hide. They don't want to show their traffic to anyone and try to go as unnoticed as possible. But this is the difficult task, because if one server is talking to another server, that creates a lot of network traffic. And that network traffic is monitored by multiple tools. So now that presents a huge problem for the attackers. And this is where they get caught. But what if you could jump from one machine to another and another just by clicking a button? There is no network traffic needed. That is why a trusted system like SolarWinds was compromised by the attackers. So the alert came in, and when the alert came in, it sounded like a fanatic theory. It sounded like one of those conspiracy theories. And it said that, most of the companies in the US are already compromised. There are a lot of government entities in the US government that are already compromised. And follow these steps to check if you are compromised. Now that followed by an entire weekend of investigation, follow-ups, research, finding something called as IOC. Now, can anyone in the audience tell me what is an IOC? Just share that in the chat window. Because when you are dealing with any kind of attack, what you are looking for are more and more IOCs. And okay, let's give it a couple of minutes and then I will give the answer. So we were getting a lot of IOCs from all over the world. We were using those IOCs to protect our network. I saw inorganic chemistry. That's a good try. Indicator of compromise, says Mudit Bansal. Thank you, Mudit. Yes, indeed, it is indicators of compromise. Now, these indicators of compromise are shared across the globe so that everybody can be protected. Now, one example of an indicator of compromise is a bad IP. It could be the file hash. It could be a bad domain name. So if I am an attacker, I'm sitting in Israel, and in Israel, I'm running my own server with a public IP. I have my own virus file, and then I'm going to drop that file from a domain name onto your system. So there are three ways in which you can identify me: my IP address, my file, and my domain name. And these are the indicators of compromise, or IOCs. So as we're getting these IOCs, the threat just got real, because now we are coming to know excessive data on the network. Okay. We are coming to know that this threat has been in the network for more than 6 months. And that's mainly because the attackers were so smart that they were able to create a system where the machine literally boots up, the infected machine. It's going to check, am I in the QA environment where there is nothing to steal? If it is in the QA environment, it's just going to go back to sleep. If it is in the production environment, then that virus is going to activate. It's going to try and contact its owner, download some more data, and then become the malware. So that way, they were able to do a lot of things in a hidden way. So that was the beginning of 2021. And as the world was just recovering from SolarWinds, we had Colonial Pipeline. Now, Colonial Pipeline was an attack called as a ransomware attack. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about ransomware attack. Trust me, it is such a severe attack. It can make an entire company to halt all of its operations, no business happening, no money coming in, until that threat is removed from the network. And these are one after the other attacks that are happening all over the world. Now, this is where There is a government organization in the US by the name CISA. Now, the CISA, along with a few more government entities, they issued a statement on how one can protect themselves from the ransomware attacks. And we'll talk more about these ransomware attacks in the talk. But before that, let me start sharing my screen, and then we can go through the slides that I have. All right, so we begin with the agenda 2022. Now, let me share something with you, that this slide deck is going to be a very minimalistic slide deck, where these are going to be pointers, and based on the pointers, we are going to have a discussion. If you feel any of these terminologies are new to you, you might have some more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. All right, so let's get started. Now, Gartner, okay, Gartner is one organization which reviews, which compares many different technologies, and then they share out their own version of who is doing well, which product has a better vision, which product has got a better execution. And based on that, they have a graphic that they create, and that graphic is called as the Magic Quadrant. So as a student, when you were choosing a college, what are all the different factors that one can consider? One can look at how is the placement record for the college? How far is it from my home? What kind of degrees are they offering? How many students? What are their criteria for getting an admission? What is the rank of this college? All of these are the things that you are comparing. In a very similar way, when any company decides to make a purchase, especially when it's a high value purchase. Now, there are some products in the security world that are quite expensive. To give one example, if you take the SIEM solution, the solution that ingests the logs from all the machines, the network devices, the servers, the laptop, the antivirus, your firewall, IDS, IPS, all the logs are coming in, and now this guy is going to make sense out of all this chaos, and it's going to tell you that there was one IP from Israel which contacted your firewall at 6:02 p.m. Then that connection was allowed to the internal web server at 6:02.5. Then there was a SQL query that ran from the web server to the database at 6:03. And then at 6:04, we had the database shut down. This all activity can be traced with the help of an SIEM solution. On an average, a company invests somewhere around maybe $100,000 to about 1.5 million, even higher, depending on how big of a SIEM you're looking for. Now, when you are about to spend $100,000 on a technology, you would definitely be interested in comparing your options. Am I right? What do you guys think? Because when you have so many options and everybody claims that, oh, I am the number one, my product is the best. So how do you compare? How do you make that decision? That's where you need companies like Gartner. That's where that is really where the Magic Quadrant comes into picture. So maybe there would be a Magic Quadrant from Gartner that says, let me compare all the vendors in the SIEM world or in the firewall world, and then compare them, and then let you know that these are the top vendors which are doing really well, and you can focus on that. So all of these are the options that you get. So that's the introduction for Gartner. Now, Gartner also makes a study on the overall technology trends for 2022. So what are the trends that they have identified? First trend that they have said is about the data fabric. This is where there is so much of data everywhere that there would be a tremendous amount of data that would be shared, that will be present. And then this data is something that the applications are going to make use of. This is the data that this is the data which will create a fabric. So if you are using your SIM card, that SIM card or that phone number is now connected to 5 OTT apps. It is connected to your banking. It's connected to your personal finance. All of this is your data fabric. This is where the artificial intelligence and machine learning puts together a generally picture of what is your overall behavior looking like. Then we have composable applications, distributed enterprise, total experience. Now, out of all of these new terms and technologies, we see about cybersecurity. They are calling it a cyber security mesh. Why are they calling it a cyber security mesh? When I read this terminology, I was so intrigued, and I thought, let me bring that to the discussion. And then from there, we can take it further. Now, cybersecurity mesh, the reason they are calling it that is, in a company, there are so many different cybersecurity devices. From the perimeter, that's your firewall, to your actual server, where you have got the antivirus, you have got the EDR, you have data loss prevention, DLP. There is layer after layer after layer after layer of protection. And that is called as defense in depth. And in one of the recent mentored lectures that I was giving, we had a deep dive on the defense in depth and why each and every layer matters. Because some things are slipped. A firewall knows what is a good IP and what is a bad IP, but it doesn't know what is a good HTTP request and what's a bad HTTP request. So every layer has its own purpose. Now, what's happening is all of these devices are talking to each other. There is a common thread. There is a common thread between all these devices, and that thread is called as threat intelligence. Threat intelligence is where you have a direct feed into the cloud, and the cloud is going to share with you the latest IOCs. That is one way of communication. Another way of communication is, let's say if we are designing an antivirus, and let's say Abhishek just copied a file from his USB drive on the hard drive. The moment that file touches the hard drive, the antivirus gets activated. The antivirus is going to quickly create an MD5 hash of that file, send it to the cloud and see, is there a bad reputation of this file? If not, let me do one thing, upload this file to the cloud in the sandbox. Now on the cloud, they have got multiple engines of antivirus that can scan that file and give you in real time if that file is trustworthy or no. Now, there is one fundamental behind technology, and that fundamental is technology has to be transparent. I'll repeat, technology has to be transparent. And the best example of that is the fan, the car, the phone, any device that you are using. When you are picking up a call on WhatsApp, do you know that there's a key exchange happening, that there is your call is being done with a end-to-end encryption, that there are SSL keys which are protecting it and real time? We don't come to know all of this, right? We just make a call and we talk to your friend. So you are completely transparent to that technology. And that is the objective of any good product, where you only focus on your task and security is going to work in the backend, securing your traffic, your confidentiality, integrity, and availability. That CIA is going to be with you for the rest of your life, just like the OSI layers. Have you guys studied the OSI layers in your syllabus so far, or heard about them, or any kind of exposure on that? All right, I'm getting a yes in the chat. Cool, thank you. So Mudit, OSI layers are going to be with you, okay, for the rest of your life, because no matter if you are in 2022 or 2052, applications are going to talk to each other from the physical layer until the data link layer, then the network layer, transport layer. We've got session management, application layer. So all of these are different layers, each of them doing their own task. Again, we are transparent to it. So the reason I was talking about all this is because I don't want to get into the primer of cybersecurity, but we are here to talk about the latest threats that, yes, AR, that's right, OSI model, which is in the fabric, it is in the DNA of every network device. So the reason I mentioned that is all of these devices are talking to each other. The antivirus or the EDR, another company of that is called as CrowdStrike. A very popular vendor is CrowdStrike. So when the CrowdStrike antivirus sitting on a machine looks at a file, scans the file, it generates a log file. And there comes another fundamental that you should know about cybersecurity. When one thing touches another, it creates a log file. Okay, when one thing touches another, it creates a log file. So when you are opening a file, that becomes a log. When you are opening a website, that becomes a log. When you log into a machine, that becomes a log as well. So no, the antivirus does not log everything. That'll be the breach of privacy. But it will scan everything, and if it finds something, that it is going to log. So at this point, I would like to share something with all of you. If you want to do a quick check if your antivirus is working well or not, there is a test. Would you guys want to know what the test is? It's a very simple test. All right, I just got one yes so far. I got two more now. Okay, cool. Guys, come on, you need to be more active. Thank you, thank you. Keep them coming. The thing is, if it was a real time, let's say an auditorium, I would be talking to you in person. But today, we are here with a virtual interface. So then this is the medium with which we can communicate, right? All right, so let me give the link in the chat. All you have to do, it's very safe. All you have to do is download the anti-malware test file. And the moment you download this file, if your antivirus is working as expected, it's going to pop up, hey, there's a virus, Iker dot. Yes, you can trust it, Ayush. And this is a file that has existed for more than 2 decades. So definitely it is trustworthy. It is not an actual virus. It's like a test. Every antivirus knows that if there is this value, it is a test file, and it is going to detect that. Even the weakest of the antivirus is going to detect this file. So there is a file called as icar.com.txt in the web page that I have just given. You just download that file and it's going to detect. So if anyone did get a detection on their machine, do let us know, because then today you practiced cybersecurity. See, now you are equipped with one tool that you can share with your friends, with your family members. If your sister has a laptop, you can give this link to her and say, hey, why don't you download this file and confirm that your AV is working fine, and step into 2022 in a secure way. All right, cool. Anurag says his AV is working. I downloaded this file and my AV is working as well. I can't download it. All right. So I think you will need to literally click on download and get the file, but it's all right. That's just a topic which you can practice at a later time as well. Anish is also saying his AV is also working. All right. So as all of these technologies got it unconfirmed, see our downloads or download. Okay. See, if your file did not get downloaded, you need to check your antivirus if it's working or no. So the reason I was talking about all this is because all of these are talking to each other. And that is the mesh of cybersecurity. The reason that's important is there are multiple different risk vectors. When you're browsing the internet, there are so many risks out there. The number one risk that we saw in the 2021 was phishing. Because in a phishing attack, what's happening is you are receiving an email that is so real looking. Let's say you get an email from Netflix saying that, hey, Ayush, you just won a 95% discount on your next Netflix renewal. And Ayush goes, I don't think I have a Netflix account yet, but let me give it a try. So he clicks on the link where it asks him to put his username and password. So an existing user would just put that username and password. That's right. But there are lots of users, Ayush, who would believe it, who would enter their username and password. And now that credential is stored with the attacker. The attacker will take that credential and they will go to your Citibank. They will go to your Facebook. They will go to your Instagram and check the same credentials are valid elsewhere. And once they verify that, they're going to add that to a database and sell that database on the dark web. So this is just one example. Now, there is also something called as red teaming, where if you want to test if your network is actually doing what it is supposed to do or not, if your security is working as expected or not, what you do is you hire a thief and you challenge that thief that I'm only going to give you my address. Now you need to come inside my house, write something on a piece of paper I will keep on the table, and then go back. If you can do that, then I will give you this much amount of money. And that is called as a pen test, penetration testing. In the corporate world, companies are required to, okay, it's not a should, would, could, would. No, it is a must. Every company must do a pen test. Do they hire hackers? Yes, they do. Now, what the hackers do is they start with doing something called as OSINT, open source intelligence. They will collect as much information about that company as possible. Where are most of the employees from? Are they from Karnataka or Mumbai? Because if I know all the employees are in Mumbai, maybe I will use Marathi as the language. In fact, there is something called as deep fakes. Deep fake. Have you guys heard about deep fakes? Deep fake is where you may have seen Barack Obama speaking something, whereas it was not him. It was a computer that generated that his video image. Now that was video. But what if somebody could imitate Prabhu's voice and give a call to his boss and say, oh, hi, sir, this is Prabhu here. I'm not feeling well today. I want to take a sick leave for the next 3 days. But, I also want to apply for this in the portal. It's not working. Can you do it for me? I'll send you an email right away. Just click on the link and apply. So now that the person got a call from his own colleague sending an email, there will be a higher amount of trust for him to click on that link. And that is called as deep fake audio. That is going to be a new trend in 2022. Deep fake audios. If you were not there in the previous talk about espionage, I had spoken about the something called as DEFCON, where there's an entire auditorium, and in that auditorium, everybody is listening to one social engineer talking to the target inside a soundproof booth. They have got one call for 20 minutes, and they need to get a lot of information from them. So in a very similar way, this social engineering is also going to happen, but not for a good purpose. So when a company hires all these attackers, what they do is they collect the information, they send the phishing emails. The moment this person clicks on the phishing email, they will download a malware on their system. That malware is going to infect their computer. Then that computer is going to be a part of the botnet, which the attacker has already created. And then from that machine, the attacker will use something called as pass the hash. Pass the hash is a very, I would say, pass the hash is such a common technique being used by the attackers. That's because if I know that on my machine, my username and password worked, now I don't have access to my password, but I do know that there is a hash of my password. Why don't I pick up that hash and check it with that guy, this neighbor on the left? Let me check it with this guy on my right, or that AD, Active Directory server. I'm going to check it with multiple different places and see if that hash works. If it does, it's going to authenticate itself and penetrate even more. Wouldn't the users see the download in their Chrome downloads? No, it won't. This is not a download. Okay, when you open a web page, okay, when you go to, let's say, hotstar.com and you open the web page, you are downloading the Hotstar logo. Do you see that in the download page? You don't. Do you see the actual CSS file that loads the UI? You don't see that, because you're not actually clicking on it's something to be downloaded. When you're sending a request, you're clicking on the link, you're sending an HTTP request out, and that's going to get some kind of a content on your machine in the background. It would not be shown to you explicitly. That's where the AV is very, very important. Do you know, these days, just having the AV is not enough. That's why you have something called as EDR. So CrowdStrike is not an antivirus. CrowdStrike is a EDR. Okay, so we discussed about a lot of things related to cyber security mesh and how all of these things are connected to each other. And we saw there was one trend coming up, and that trend was the deepfake audios. Now let's go to the second trend. The next trend that we are going to look at, or that we are going to have, is this trend is more about insurance. Okay, now every company is required to have insurance. Now, when these insurance guys come in, it used to be a very normal thing. They come in, they have a checklist. Do you have security? The guy will say, yes, of course I have security. Who do you think I am not to have security? Oh, you have security, right? All right, I trust you completely. Face value, checked. Are you using an antivirus vendor? Yeah, we are using antivirus. Okay, checked. So this is called as a checkbox approach. So you check. All right, sir, here is your insurance. Now, what happened afterwards is that company, no, not really like a help desk, but see, those people are non-technical. The people who are insurers are non-technical people. They would not want to see an antivirus console to see how many machines have the antivirus or not. They would not want to see your firewall configuration and see if you have good rules or not. But what they are looking for is, because they have so many people to talk to, they can't go deep into each and every person's configuration. But they will check from a health perspective. Do I have a gym membership? I will say yes. Do you go to the gym? They would not ask that. All right. So now what happened is they gave the insurance. Later on, one person got a phishing email, clicked on the link, got infected. That machine encrypted all of his files on that computer. Not just that, it encrypted all the network folders. Are you guys using network folders in your college to share information? No, I'm getting a lot of no. Okay. All right. So I must say, okay, I must say that when you see this in the perspective of a company, okay, where network folder is where you have a common location. Okay, now let me give you one client that I was working with, and they were with the finance industry. All the call center agents, what they were doing is, a customer calls in and says, hi, I need you to check my loan eligibility, and this is my PAN card number. They will get the PAN card number, they will go to the portal, do their thing, download a form, then the call is completed. Now the law states you can't just save that form there. The company should make a record of how many people called and how many forms you have. So what they do is they have one single machine where all these forms will be saved. They create a folder and they share that folder with everyone. Now everyone, as in me, if I am a call center agent, I've got my form, I will copy it, go to the folder, make a new folder called as, let's say, Ajit, who called in, and I open the folder, dump my form, come back and talk to the next customer. So everyone's forms are now present in the network folder. Just imagine if that folder is encrypted. Now, the company has no idea how many people called. They don't know what form is downloaded. In short, their entire business for that day is wiped clean. And they can get access to it, but you know what they have to do? They have to pay $5 million to a hacker through Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other kind of a cryptocurrency. So they pay that hacker $5 million. Again, that's an example I'm taking. Depends on case to case how much ransom they are asking. But they pay the money, then the hacker, if they are ethical hackers, will give the decryption key and the company will get the files back. But even then, you can't be sure that those people will leave another virus in your network, just to be safe. I'll hack you again 5 years from now. So that is the life cycle. Now, what this company did is they paid $5 million to the attackers. Now the company says, hey, I have got, I've got insurance. So they go to the insurance people and say, hey, I need you to give me $5 million because I was in a cyber incident. And because I was in a cyber incident, it is covered under my insurance policy. Give me money. And the insurance people could not do anything. That was a 0-day attack on the insurance company as well, because they had to pay a lot of people, a lot of money. They were losing money left, right, and center. So now the insurance companies pulled up their sleeves and said, Macha, I'm going to clean this up. Let's see. So they are now coming up with much and more stricter guidelines. They will come in and say, okay, do you have a run book for dealing with a ransomware attack? A company says, company A says, oh, yes, I have. What is a run book? I'll tell you. Then the next question, have you ever done a tabletop drill in your company to see how you are performing? Company A will say, oh, yes, we did. Thank you. Now, because you have done these two things, your insurance premium is $250,000. Then second company comes in. They don't have a run book. They have not done the tabletop drill, and they will say, okay, your insurance premium is $500,000 because you have a higher risk, you have poor security. Even in some cases, the insurance company will refuse to give you insurance. Okay, now let me cover a couple of terms that I have just covered here. First is a run book, second is a tabletop drill. A run book is a list of the things that you would do in case there is a problem. So it's like you write down everything. If there is a fire in the house, what would you do? First is detection. Oh, I'm going to see smoke everywhere. That means there is a fire. I can also see there is fire in the other room. Okay, there is a fire. Incident is raised. Now, should I take care of it, or should I call the fire department, or should I call the president of my society? Who should take care of it? Who is the first responder? Maybe I will call the fire drill, but while they are coming, should I just be sitting here, or should I be doing something else? So all these things are written down step by step. But then again, writing it down step by step is like writing a book that no one else reads. Is there any use of that book? No. That's why you write this down, and then you get everybody on the call. Like when I say everyone, all the necessary people. You will have people from the network team, you will have people from the security team, people from the infrastructure team who manage all the servers, you would have people from the legal team, you would also have on the call a negotiator. So did you know that the cyber insurance companies also give you a negotiator? That negotiator has access to the cyber currency. They have got a crypto wallet. So even if you are, let's say, a hospital, you have no idea what is crypto and what is a wallet, but it's okay, you understand money. If you decide to pay the ransom, the insurance company will help you pay the ransom also. So all these people will come on a call. And then if I am the one who is running this incident, I'm going to say, okay, slide number 1, it is 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. One of the user calls in saying that they are not able to access anything on the laptop, and everything has a file extension of .crypt. Number 2, now there are 50 users who are calling in and saying that, hey, we can't access anything, even the network folder is unavailable. Now an incident is raised. Then they will all turn to the security team and say, okay, Mr. Security Team, what will you do? Tell me. Now at this point, if the security team is knowing what to do by reading the run book, they will say, okay, yeah, we will raise the ticket. We will call our vendor who is our antivirus expert. We will contact the user. We will isolate the laptop. We will do forensic study, and then we will continue. All right. All right. So then me again, the person who's running the call will say, okay, you did 5 things right, but you did not do 2 things. Number 1, you did not let your leadership know that something like this is happening. Number 2, you did not have anyone write down the timestamp, because there is something else at play here. All these government agencies have laws, and the laws state that if you are being hacked, if you know that you have been hacked, if I know that at 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning, I have 72 hours to inform the government or to inform the law enforcement authorities. And if I don't do that, I will have a fine. And I may have some more problems in the future. So then there needs to be somebody who will make a note of when did the incident start? What did we do? Who did what? Make a list of the whole thing. And that becomes your log file of the entire incident. Very recently, we conducted this with one of the companies, and that call went on for 12 hours, where we literally had people in shifts. We had multiple scenarios. People were tired at the end of that call, but they all went back learning something new. They did not know that, oh, we don't have this. They didn't know who to contact if they had to buy cryptocurrencies. So they came to know many, many flaws in their own system just by doing a test. I see that there is a issue. Just a minute. I'm just going to pause here. Any questions in the meantime while I plug in my charger? So we spoke about the tabletop drill. So what I spoke just now, that is a tabletop drill. Is it pen testing? No, it's not. Can we unmute and ask? Yes, Dhruva, you can. You can unmute and ask.
Good evening,
Unless
sir. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
I just had a general question.
Sure.
At what stage do you believe that a company should establish these rules and procedures? I run a bug bounty firm, right? And we're currently a very small startup. It's like a hackathon for India.
Okay.
But of course, we're handling other companies, of course, a lot of critical data of other companies, basically the bugs that have been reported to other companies.
Yeah.
So having these standards in place and all would certainly help us. But of course, we're now not at a stage where we can get ISO 27001 certified at all, because that's, of course, going to be very expensive for us. So what do you think is the best, way to go forward in a stage where it's a smaller company, but we would still like to establish these, rules and all? So that the companies who are associating with us also feel safe.
Excellent question. Thank you so much for that question, bro. I would say there is something that you do because you want to be secure, okay, and there is something that you do because it must be done. So you need to know what is your liability. If you are handling credit cards on your website, then you are liable to PCI DSS. You have to be compliant on that standard. If you are handling healthcare data, then you have to be HIPAA compliant. So in a similar way, looking at the data that you're handling, identify what is your liability, what kind of law or a standard applies to you. Based on that, you understand what are the requirements. Then you take a decision, what all things you are doing already. And as you said, you are in the business of finding these flaws. That means there is certain amount of communication that is happening. So I would say that dedicate a few resources for this specific purpose to establish these procedures, depending and very specific to your organization. Because as a part of the prep, I do have the CISA has already published a runbook for these kind of issues. And I'm going to give the link to that runbook in the chat window. That is just a reference medium. However, you can create something similar for your company and then start exercising this. For example, if you have the data for your customers, it is stored in AWS. Now take a worst case scenario. Your AWS access is no longer there. How will you recover from that? Is there a backup available? Is there an air gap between your actual backup and your actual production systems? If it is not, in that case, if something in the production is impacted, so is the backup. Does that help you to answer that question?
Yes, sir. I think that does kind of answer the question in a way. And you're very right that, having these kind of procedures is very important. And we actually do have a lot of our data stored on AWS and kind of working on building like a policy to, have a fallback in case anything wrong happens. So yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. So you need to think about the worst case scenarios. Just do one thing, get your team in a room and tell them, come up with all the worst scenarios and write them down and then then do a tabletop drill yourself. If you want to have a further conversation, I've given my LinkedIn in the chat. You can always reach out, discuss offline. All right, so we spoke about these tabletop drills, we spoke about pen testing, we spoke about all these things that are happening. Now, there is something else which is emerging. In the year 2004, when I was in college, I used to go to various different colleges and do paper presentations. And that's where I used to talk about IPv6. So in 2004, I used to talk about IPv6 and how that technology is going to come and it's going to change. Even your fridge will have an IP. And many people used to find it, when is that going to happen? Anything. So, so now IPv6 was an emerging technology where the number of IP, like everything has an IP. My phone has an IP, my laptop has an IP. So the old version of IP was not designed with so much of a blast of a growth in mind. They designed it with a limited functionality. But soon we ran out of IPs. And now we thought, we need something bigger. So they came up with a new version of IP. And they say that every square foot of the earth can have 1000 IPs. We have so many IPs available in IPv6. So just like that was an emerging trend back then, we have a new emerging trend now. Have you guys heard about something called as NFT? NFT. Okay, NFT is the new buzzword. And NFT has its own perks as well. So it's like if you have something unique which is online and you want to sell that, how do you really prove that you are the owner of that entity? Okay, how do you really prove that you are the owner of that entity? Let's say one fine day, as you were just doodling on MS Paint while you were thinking deeply about something, and suddenly you see there's a masterpiece in front of you, and you are like, bro, I need to monetize this, but how do I do that? You can't just keep it for sale on Facebook. You can't keep it for sale by taking a printout of it. It's a digital file. So how do you prove? Yeah, that's just an example. You can sell literally anything on the internet with the help of NFT. And that is going to be the target for the next generation of attacks. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you all through an NFT website. Okay, this is a website called as OpenSea. Now, if you go down, now, have you guys heard about something called as blockchain? I'm sure in this conference, some of the speakers must have mentioned blockchain. Yeah, all right, cool. This is an implementation of blockchain, where if you have these online paintings that are being sold, they are being sold with the help of blockchain. So do you see this icon over here, ETH? If I go here, I will again see ETH, that is Ethereum. So if I click on this, okay, so Mutant Ape Yacht Club. So Mutant Ape is a craze in OpenSea. And over here, you see multiple versions of this Mutant Ape, and each of them have got their own value. And if you look at it, this is a new currency. It's called as WETH. And WETH is the wrapped ETH or Ethereum. It's a currency that allows users to make pre-authorized bids that can be fulfilled at a later date without any further action from the bidder. So if you feel that this mutant monkey is worth 15 Ethereum, 15 points of Ethereum, you make that bid, and that is your unique bid over here. If I scroll down, you can see how the price of this specific mutant ape has increased over time. Scroll down, you see how this mutant ape has been trending throughout the time. It all started from a null address. Ethan ABS Maxi was the first owner. And then you have more owners as they kept selling it. Starting price for 5.25. And right now it is 11.25. So this is one way in which they are making money by using the NFT. So if you go to the help center and if you go to their blogs, or if you go to the help center, it's going to help you to understand how this whole thing works, how is a unique ID created, and what is buying and selling over here. So how do I create an NFT? So all of these are the fundamentals for NFT here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly share the link in the chat so that everyone can access this. All right. Now, another thing, whenever you want to learn something, a new terminology, now there will be multiple blogs, there will be YouTube videos, there would be tweets about that technology. But if you want to learn something new, just go to NFT and go to Wikipedia. The reason I'm sharing this with you is Wikipedia is a completely trustworthy resource. There are multiple people across the world whose job is to maintain authentic information about that technology on the internet. So on the Wikipedia, you see it is non-fungible token. Fungible means replaceable, non-replaceable token. In fact, Ankur Wariku has also created a very interesting video about it. So how the copyright works, how the digital art is being sold here, how are games, music, films, multiple things. It's like a new way of selling something. Now, this is the asset. In the field of cyber, when you have an asset, you may have a possible risk associated with that. In a very recent hack, the people from the Checkpoint Research, CPR, were able to identify a bug in that website called as OpenSea, with the help of which I may send a request to Dhruva saying that, hey, why don't you check out this new logo I created? Dhruva clicks on the link, but as he's checking that link, he actually executed a backend application layer attack, and now the money from his wallet is being transferred to my wallet. There's a live demo available for that attack. So in the coming year, NFT is going to make a lot of news. Now, in the field of cyber, there are lots of different attacks that keep happening. And there's always a question that we have whenever we have anything new happening. And the question is build versus buy. Okay, build versus buy. Now that question comes into picture when you are a government and you have certain persons of interests that you want to monitor. Would you want to write your own tools and start monitoring them, or buy something on the internet? In comes the software or a attacking tool called as Pegasus. Pegasus. It's a product or a hacking tool created by an Israeli company that officially sells these to government. Why is that used? Now this tool called as Pegasus can be used for monitoring your phone. They can turn on the mic whenever they want. They can turn on the camera. They can start copying the contents of your phone to a remote location. They can in fact implant more things on the phone as well. So in some extreme countries, one of the case studies I was listening about on a podcast, that's where there was a journalist, and that journalist was writing against the government. The government wanted to monitor his behavior. What they did is their hackers called that journalist. He was driving his car, and they said, hey, you know, your wife has just met an extreme accident. She is in the middle of life and death. Please come to this place. I'm sending you the locations on Google Map. Click on this link. Now, this guy was a very cyber savvy person. He used to write articles. But when your family is at stake, all the logic goes out of the window. And I was reading a book by Lee Child about Jack Reacher, and there is a quote there. It says, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the teeth. So even this guy had a plan. But when he got this intriguing call, he was in a panic state, and he got the SMS. He clicked on the link, not even realizing that he was downloading Pegasus. 3 days later, that person was found killed because they were able to track his location and do many other things from his ID. So Pegasus is just one example. There are many such tools, and these tools are being sold out there. In the year 2022, we expect more and more usage of these tools. So this is where the governments are turning the tables on these tools. Our government has been actively monitoring the usage of these tools, and they have, our own CERT has been doing this monitoring as well. There are multiple articles also available. One came out very recently about the Pegasus and the Indian government. Do read up on that. Is it recommended to use open source tools, or should we make our own tools? Ayush, I would say you can use an open source tool and add your own code, make it even better, and contribute to the society. You can write your own code as well. Yeah, when I was talking to one of the pen testers, what he said is he hasn't done a single pen test where he did not use his own scripts for doing something specific, because it's only he knows that how he is doing that. So yeah, you do create your own scripts and use the tools from the market as well. All right, so those are some of the things that we can expect in the year 2022. It's 7:01 and I don't want to take any more time from your schedule. So if there are any questions, we can take them now. You can also feel free to contact me on my LinkedIn profile and ask me the questions over there as well. With that, I would like to hand the stage back to the MC for the day and to the admins. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. I hope everyone in this meeting got to know a lot. So by this was our last talk for our InCTF pre-conference, InCTFcon's pre-conference talks. I hope everyone had got to learn a lot of things during these 3 talks we had. And yeah, we would like to thank Mr. Aniket again for 2 of the talks actually. I'll be ending the live stream now. So.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me here. Thank you, Great Learning, for giving me this opportunity, and wishing all of you a very happy new year. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you.